Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, I want to take a look at The Blue Beetle, number 3. This book is from 1977. It's a reprint from 1967, published by Charlton Comics. This issue is a modern comics, part of the Charlton Comics imprint. An imprint of Charlton Comics is what I'm trying to say. For what they were using for some of the reprint books, especially stuff sold in bagged in and sold in department stores. Okay, and this is as the story and art by Steve Ditko, scripted by D.C. Glanzman. So, and you look at this cover and you might say that looks a lot like a Spider-Man cover. I said, yes, it does. And this version of the Blue Beetle looks a lot like Spider-Man because Steve Ditko designed both of them. And this features some of the nicest Steve Ditko art that I've seen. Right in this time period of his production, with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Blue Beetle, the Captain Atom, and some of the nicest stuff. His nicest stuff. Later in the 70s, especially when he was doing some of his creator-owned stuff, and then a lot of the mystery and science fiction stuff in the 70s at Charlton. His work wasn't nearly as good. Even into the 80s, it was come and go. Some of it was better, like when he did some work for Atlas. It was a little nicer there, and that's when he had sometimes Wally Wood and some others doing the inks on it instead of, but some of the nicer Steve Ditko artwork. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the Blue Beetle, or this version of the Blue Beetle, this is the name Blue Beetle. It's the name of 3 superheroes in American comics, most recently published by DC Comics, but by various publishers since 1939. DC bought this and other characters from Charlton in 1983. The original version of the Blue Beetle was created by Charles Nicholas Wojtowski. I think it's. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Wojtowski for Fox Comics in 1939, and it was then later owned by Charlton Comics. The original was Dan Garrett, who gained superpowers from a special vitamin, and then it was later retconned to be a sacred scarab, in which his powers were granted magically, and as well as his own comic book. And he was featured in a radio show for a time. It was a radio serial, and that is available. I just looked; it is available on YouTube. I haven't listened to any of it yet, but I think I'll check it out. And then there was also a short-lived newspaper comic strip as well. And the Beetle mantle was passed to a friend of Dan Garrett's, Ted Cord, in 1966, who is a scientist and industrialist. with no superpowers, and that's this version. This is the version I like best, the Ted Kord version of the Blue Beetle. And this is the version who was active when DC bought the character. Then years later, at DC, they created a new version, which was Jaime Reyes, and he received his powers from the Scarab, but it was as an alien weapon rather than a magical artifact. So that was our background on the Blue Beetle. So and this is the version that was largely created by Ditko, and it looks. Let's take a look here. It says this is issue number 3, so this version is a relatively new character at the time. The mood is madness when the Blue Beetle mixes it with the Madmen. And I think Ditko would sneak in some of his own politics into his stories, and I think the Madmen was a commentary on the hippies of the time in the 1960s, the beatniks and the hippies. They look more beatnik, but I think it was more a comment on the hippies, and may have been partially inspired by the Joker. It's hard to say, and I definitely think that his own creation years later at DC of the Creeper came out of his creation of the Madmen. It has some really nice artwork in here, and it has a backup story of The Question, which was a completely Ditko creation. And you see the Blue Beetle carries a gun, but it's not a conventional gun. It's some kind of gun-like device to assist him, but I don't think he had used it as yet in this story, because no one knows what it's like, and the whole story revolves around his gun. And his Ditko is known for his very busy page layouts, because most of the time sometimes he has the common six panel grid, but he works primarily in a 9-panel grid, of course with variations in both. And here we see the Madmen as they're coming to and robbing a bank in Hub City, and I think the Madmen may have been introduced in the second issue, because he already seems to know a little bit about them. I don't have that, so here they are bouncing around. But here's the alarms, because he's got his flying vehicle, the Bug, which has all kinds of scientific contraptions in there, and he comes swinging down. See his Spider-Man, even his costume is reminiscent of Spider-Man, the way the Beetle silhouette across the top of his costume and stuff. Anyway, he comes swinging down and lays right into the Madmen. Bam! But he is outnumbered. Remember, he has no superpowers. He is just a skilled athlete and fighter, and apparently a gymnast, because he's doing all kinds of Spider-Man like bounding and bouncing around stuff. And they kind of, in the process, he draws his buzz gun, because he thinks he's going to need to use it against this many opponents, and it gets knocked from his hand, picked up by the leader of the Madmen, and they skedaddle, and he takes off, and he's trying to follow him, but he doesn't know. So they get to their hideout, and they test the buzz gun, but presses the trigger and it just buzzes. Buzz, 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 buzz. I said, I don't know what it is. What it does. Here's got the 9-page grid. And but we can still use it because no one knows what it does. So they continue on their crime spree using the buzz gun, and it really making it go buzz, 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 and it looks so unusual. And by now people have heard about the Blue Beetle losing his fancy gun, and they don't. And they're all everyone is speculating on the capabilities of this gun. And they use the gun. It doesn't do anything. And this whole story is basically a comment on gun control. But you have to see it. You have to read it. Here in the rain and stuff, he's got his equipment to find his buzz gun, because it can pick up the specific sound of the buzz gun. It leads him to this location, and they are pounding the crap out of him again, and he has to get away. Meanwhile, below in an apartment building, someone says, "Oh, it's Dan Garrett," and he's injured has his arm in a sling, returning to his apartment, and his neighbor says, "Ah, Dan, it's you. But what happened?" He says, "Hi, a little accident while I was away. I'm okay now." Now remember, Dan Garrett is the original Blue Beetle, and he's gone missing for quite some time, and that's when Ted Cord took up the mantle of the Blue Beetle. And the neighbor calls the police detective who had been with him looking for Dan Garrett previously, and calls him up, and they gets there. But when he gets there, Dan Garrett is gone. Meanwhile, we're back with Beetle, concerned about his missing buzz gun, and the madmen out of their makeup and costumes, and they're just laughing because listening to the stories, and got people talking about the Blue Beetle's gun, and people wanting to arrest the Blue Beetle because he must be in cahoots with these crooks and stuff like that, all this other stuff. And he goes back out in his bug from his hidden headquarters, goes down through the tunnel into the river, and up it goes. Boom. Now he's zeroing in on the buzz gun again, but this time, instead of confronting them directly, he follows them. He spots where it was. He follows them in this truck, and that's when he's about to. They realize he's there, and then suddenly, boom! Explosive and gas, smoke billowing out, and then the truck opens up, and a smaller truck comes racing out, billowing smoke as well. So he can't find them through the smoke screen. Then we see Dan Garrett. He's picking up a package of some kind for some information from an historian friend of his, because this version of Dan Garrett is an archaeologist. And then he's off, and the detective is there too late because he needs to talk to Dan Garrett. This is when the detective confronts Cord. Said, "Have you heard from Dan Garrett?" He's so totally surprised. No, I didn't know he was back. I want to talk to him. Then they see him walking down the street, but he's across the street, and they can't get through the traffic before he disappears. So they go up to Ted, and he had just come from Ted Cord's laboratory. So they go up there, talk to his Cord's assistant and girlfriend, Tracy. And now here is something, because how lovely, she's the only female character in the story, and how nice and lovely he made this lady Tracy, which is kind of an artifact of the period, because in most of his later work, he could not draw lovely women if he. No matter how hard he tried, and I think that was just an artifact of his style maturing, because he did a really nice job here on this lady, and she tells him that he had stopped by, but because he wanted to talk to Ted. Then we get more stuff on the news about the threat of the madmen with the Blue Beetle's gun, people wanting the cops to arrest Blue Beetle, and here they are. The madmen are saying stuff like, okay, we strike as long as the heat's on the Blue Beetle. After all, it's his gun that's the real criminal. It's forcing us to use it. So you can see what I'm talking about. So he goes out in the bug again, and sends out a drone to try to get a closer, so he can triangulate the sound of the buzz gun. This time he gets there, and he follows the truck again, but with the drone, so that they can't spot him as well. And when they get to their hideout, he arrives just in time. Blue Beetle, Blue Beetle. Yeah. And he lays into these madmen, knocked them down. They has a really nice battle sequence here, but he gets whooped again, and they try to take his mask off, but they don't realize it's technology, and it cannot be removed without the right technology to remove it, which he's got. They don't know that. They can't. So they tie him up, and now they're going to torture him into telling him how the gun actually works, what it really does, and they've got a fire going here to heat up a poker. They're going to torture him, but he takes advantage of a momentary distraction, even though he's all tied up, lays into them, and gets by the fire, gets his ropes set on fire, then continues the fight as the ropes burn, and till he can free himself, really laying into him, grabbing his buzz gun. Now they're terrified. Oh, what's it going to do? Oh, what does it do? Is it going to disintegrate us? Oh, yeah, what's that? Well, the gun has special technology too, and it cannot be fired without an unlocking mechanism on his gloves. And he fires the gun. The gun goes buzz, 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 and poof! A very bright flash of light, which his own goggles protects him from. But it's dazzled all them. They can't see squat. The rest of the guys come, and he clunks them, knocks them out, and then throws a net over them and hauls them with his flying machine, his bug, and delivers them to the cops. And he's got his gun back, his buzz gun back. Now they're talking about, Tracy said, okay, with Dan Garrett back, what are you going to do as regards the Blue Beetle? And he says, I'll just take things as they come. I can't make long-range decisions until I talk to Dan. Then whatever has to be done, I'll be prepared to do. To find out whether Dan Garrett, and at this point we don't know what's going to happen. Is Garrett going to come back and reclaim the mantle of the Blue Beetle, or what's the scoop is? We don't know. And then here we have, I won't even get into the backup story of the from the question, and it's really compressed with his 9-panel grid. A lot of stuff happens on each page. It's about this a murderer murdering the executives at this company, and the murderer is wearing this hard hat diving suit, and the people are drowning. So how is that happening? People think it's a ghost or something. Goes back. It doesn't matter. It's the diving suit is just a costume, not a real diving suit, and it has set up with to spray water into the faces of the victims to drown them. But the question eventually overcomes and defeats, and the real murderer is one of the 4 men who are the intended victims. So that is the Blue Beetle. I really enjoyed that. I like Ditko's version of the Blue Beetle and all. So that's all I had to share with you this time. I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments down below, and let me know what version and what era of the Blue Beetle you like. Do you like? I enjoyed the Beetle in the 80s when DC did it. I prefer that one. I'm not thrilled with the Jaime Reyes version. and I know almost nothing about the Dan Garrett version. So I want to thank you again, and remember, comics are art.